All right, what's up? Monday, May 17th. Market Movers here with Justin Perri. Going to be an absolutely fun day here. It feels like a much smaller day than it is. There's actually still 9 games on the slate, but it does feel like one of those shorter slates today. But good afternoon. How you doing in New York today?
It's a gorgeous 70-degree day. Sun is shining. Gonna be a good one. Talking about how it feels like a small slate. I think it has to do with how the Mets lines and the Padres lines got put up a little late today. And I think the Nationals lines. So a lot of games sort of coming in a little slowly, but they all are all up now. Definitely excited to get the week started right and check in with the market, see what's going on this morning.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely been some big movements. I tweeted about a couple early this morning because the market was really on the move this morning around 7:30, 8 o'clock. A lot of movement there. Starting with, let's go ahead and look at it wasn't the first game, but it was the Nationals Cubs game. We've seen a lot of movement in that one. Cubs opened around minus 120, minus 130, depending on where you were shopping. They're up to minus 150. Even higher in some spots. Do you have any thoughts there? Do you agree with this line movement on the Cubs? Do you agree with this minus 150 price at home on the Cubs against the Nationals?
I definitely think that the Nationals are a little undervalued here. I don't necessarily agree with all the movement. I mean, you're seeing like 20 plus cents from the open. So that's a very, staunch amount of movement. There is definitely some sharp sides on the Chicago Cubs, though. It looks like it's the side with the sharps and the money. Public, sort of everyone's on them right now. I don't really see any indications on the spread, but there is definitely going to be like most of the sharp experts and the public money is going to be on the big team today. So I get why the books are moving the lines. I'm not chasing the steam, because I definitely think that you're getting out of bounds for me on the Cubs. But if you got it this morning, you're probably feeling pretty good.
Yeah, if you bet the Cubs this morning, you're feeling great at this point. It is very clearly the sharp side in the market. Almost 60% of the action is still on the Washington Nationals at this point. And it's just almost consensus wide. It's looking like a 25-cent mover without a pitching change of any kind here. So that's kind of interesting. Pretty big movement in that one. I did not get anything down on this game. Trying to look and see. I would have had to have the absolute open, and I totally missed the absolute open. Even by the time I got around to everything, it was sitting minus 140, which was a full 10 cents and a little too late. So.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago's offense has been producing, right? So I think people are excited to sort of see that the number of runs that they've put up, and Washington can be a little shaky. I get it, but I'm really not playing anything there. I guess if I had to play the game, I'd probably play an under, but I'd probably play the Washington team total under. But again, I'm not touching that. I'm not touching it.
Yep. No, I missed this one this morning. Just can't play it. Next game, Reds, Giants. I think you ended up with a play on this game. I guess I'll let you talk about it a little bit, but it's pretty big movement in this one as well. Reds open minus 147, minus 150 in some spots, all the way down to minus 130. Pretty sharp movement there on the Giants. I'll go ahead and let you talk about it, though.
Yeah, I mean, pretty happy to hear it. I took the Giants this morning at plus 125. It's just looking like a sharp move. I really didn't understand why the Reds were getting all this love. San Francisco, I do believe, has one of the best, if not the best, rotations in the National League. Did I say Chicago, Cincinnati? Anyway, so I got 10 cents on it this morning. It's definitely looking like the sharp side. I have seen some smart people on the other side too, but a big deal for us. We always talk about the VMI. Well, coming out of the mountains in Colorado, where the Magnus effect, aka the spin on the ball, is going to be like less impactful in the mountains. We're going to see breaking balls sort of dive out of the muscle memory zone for the Reds, especially as they get acclimated to not playing in that air. And that's a big deal. So we're looking for the Reds to miss the ball tonight. I think Giants definitely have the pitching to do that. They definitely have a decent bullpen. And I don't like the Reds bullpen at all. So, let's see what happens. I'm definitely on the Giants, though, and I'm happy to get that 10 cents.
Yeah, so I have a little take on the game and like why I think we've seen what we've seen in the market. Logan Webb has been very good, especially in the most recent start. Really flashed some of the strikeout upside. I think we're seeing that a lot. I personally have been someone who's always been a little higher than the market on Sonny Gray.
Yeah.
I think that, it's still a very high variance spot for him, frankly, and really both pitchers, especially in this overall environment, as opposed to if they were pitching in San Francisco. I'm not touching the under here. I have 0 plays on the game. I understand why you have the play that you have, and it very clearly looks like you got there and got the best price on it this morning, which was key. But I do think we're seeing from this number, it indicates a lot of trust from the market as a whole in Logan Webb. And
yeah,
I want to say I'm there. I'm not quite there. I think that if he's there after this start, I can really start to get on board. But a road start at Cincinnati, it's going to be tough. So we'll see what happens there. But it's very clear the sharp side, very clear that you played it, got the best price on the game. Unfortunately, I didn't have the value to make the play myself.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely happy. A little bit that I saw on Webb, I think his FIP is at like 3.73, which looks to be like a whole run lower than his ERA on the year, which I definitely liked. I definitely thought that, probably a little bit of a reaction to the market. I know that, when I was first betting baseball, I'd be like, oh, what are the ERAs on the starters? But, Webb has I think his rate for his home run ball, if I believe I read this earlier this morning, he's given up less than 1 home run per 9 innings. So obviously he has a challenge on that for the ballpark he's in today. But, on Sonny Gray, his walks are up. And I do think the hits are up too for his last season and on his career numbers. So I do think it's a little bit of a high variance position, but I definitely felt like that was going to favor the odds I was getting the Giants at more than the odds I'd have to take the Reds at. So Market tended to agree, and here we are.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I did look up some of the expected numbers quickly, and he has actually been good. He is he's someone whose actual weighted on base average 339 is much worse than his expected number of 297. And yes, he did have 10 strikeouts last time out. Bundy, who's watching on Twitch, thank you for watching again.
And I was asked what sports book I use. So I'm a New Yorker. So I don't use a sports book. I'm a bookie. I'm old school. Though it is legal, we just don't have the agreements out with the vendors. So probably within the next 8 months, I'll be playing on FanDuel and DraftKings and William Hill and all that fun stuff. But for now, I take local lines. And I do look at William Hill because that's where I usually get my references with Sportsline.
Yep. Another question I see, hey guys, if my bankroll is $1,000, how much money should I play a day? Always the most difficult question to answer. The reason why it's difficult is we all have different goals. We all have different financial situations. The other thing I would ask you, the first thing I would ask anyone that I would essentially be consulting in that spot, is your bankroll really $1,000? If you lose this $1,000, are you going to deposit another $1,000 or not? Because if you are, then you haven't truly defined your bankroll, in my opinion. So it's really difficult to answer that question. If you say, I have $1,000 that I am committing to sports betting, I will not play again after this $1,000 is gone, I would recommend you play the way I do, which is going to be 1% is a full unit. At the most, which is not very attractive to a lot of people, at the most, I would be comfortable with letting someone bump that up to 2.5% on a play. Otherwise, I think that it's going to be very difficult. I've seen many players who are trying to play 10% of a bankroll on a play. I see a lot of people with $1,000 bankroll trying to bet $100 a game. That is a good way to guarantee that you are going to lose. You are going to go to zero without a doubt. Runs of 10 losses in a row are very common. It's just a very, very, very common thing. Yes. Very, very, very common thing. So I personally play 1% as a full unit. It's more conservative than I need to be at this point. However, it's what works for me and what I'm very comfortable doing. It just depends on, frankly, what your goals are. Are you trying to really come in and make a lot of money? Are you trying to you enjoy the sweat of gambling and in a long-term situation, would you like to never lose a dollar gambling? You may not win anything, but would you like to get that sweat and get that feeling every day while breaking even? That is a legitimate, realistic goal for many, many people that is not talked about in this industry, but it should be, because that is likely a winning outcome for a lot of people, right? You get to watch games every day, have action on games, never have to redeposit, never lose your money. Like, that is a win for many, many, many people. So you really need to define your goals, in my opinion. A lot of people aren't going to sit here and tell you this, but this is absolutely the truth, right? So if you have any thoughts on it, Justin, I'd love to hear any input.
No, I mean, you were one of the first people. Well, I think like when I first started reading what your sort of, I guess, gospel on betting is, and what you sort of say as like the standards. And first of all, I think the important thing to say is that Mike is not alone. This is not something that he like came up with. This is pretty standard. Yeah. The 1 unit to being 1%. It's used amongst probably the most disciplined and like consistent bettors. And that's the most important thing, right? Is you want to be disciplined. You want to keep your like financial risk at a place for yourself where you don't get emotional. Fear and greed are probably the worst things you ever want to mix with money. And the moment that you're upset or you're worried that you're going to miss on a good bet, or you're greedy and you want too much, like you're probably going to put yourself in a position to lose. So I would definitely keep it at that. I barely ever do 2-unit plays. I'm more likely to go down and play a small bet than I am to go up and play something above a unit. It's just worked for me. I haven't had to have a bad month probably since last December was probably the last month where I owed my bookie money at the end of the month. So, it's been working for me. I can't really complain. I recommend doing it and strictly adhering. So, look, everyone's own personal situation, though, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We all have different financial situations. We all have different goals, frankly. So, it's such a tough question to answer. So difficult to give advice on that, because, if your goal is to maximize profit, like, the amount that you're betting on each game is going to be correlated with the edge that you have on the game. Like, right. If you're truly trying to maximize profit, right? So you're going to be, that's not the reality for 99.9% of people betting on sports. Frankly, it's not even the real reality for me anymore at this point. I'm not, I basically, my max play is basically going to be the 1 unit. And rare occasions I'll end up playing a game and getting 2 units on it. But the only time that that's really happening, which we've seen a little bit if you followed me in college basketball on the Discord server, would be some situation where we see some extreme line movement, and a lot of times going to be in a direction that the market moves against my position, but I'm so confident in my number and my position where I will bet a game at -5. For some reason, it closes at -3. I will end up playing that game again. So if you have an edge, you love it, you get a different edge. For me personally, it's okay to treat that as a totally separate bet. They're obviously not independent events anymore at that point, but it's something that I will do. But I will never just decide to play that I need to play a bigger play because I'm due for a win. That is a recipe for disaster, as you've seen. You guys have seen all of my streaks on Twitter recently in the last month. You've seen both ends of the spectrum. 20 in a row winners, 10 in a row losers. You've seen it all. So
I'm laughing at Shocks. What's up, dude? That's pretty funny. But right, you don't want to tilt, right? And I think it's important that we acknowledge the emotional aspect of betting and losing and winning, because to not do so, I think, is naive. So look, when I was sort of transitioning into being a more disciplined bettor, which takes a lot of effort, I had like rules, Post-it note tape to the side of my computer that pretty much said, this is how much you bet. You don't bet more than this. And, you don't take live bets. And I had to break myself out of live betting. I had to all that. It is so easy to, chase. And you shouldn't have any shame in saying that, you used to be like that and you're working towards being better, because at the end of the day, that's what you want to do. You want to become a smarter, better than you were the day before. And that's what we're here to help with. So
Yep.
No tilt. Hashtag no tilt. There
Hashtag
we go.
no tilt. There we go. All right, let's get back to the games, but love the questions. Always keep them coming. We can talk about that stuff for days. One thing that I love about this platform here is I'm going to spit it to you straight, right? I'm always going to give you what I feel is the best advice. And that's just the way we roll here. So next game on the slate, Chicago White Sox on the road against the Minnesota Twins. Definitely gave this one out on the early edge. I believe both of us had a play on this one on the early edge today. Going to be two lefties on the mound, Dallas Keuchel and J.A. Happ. Any thoughts here on this one for you?
Well, look, we both touched on it a little bit. You a little more than I did, but the White Sox and lefties are just a match made in heaven. They've been just beating up lefties. This is a top quality lineup. You know, I can't really see them dropping this game. They put up 9 runs on Happ and he couldn't even get out of the 4th inning last time they faced him. And I am of the mindset of thinking that, 5 days isn't necessarily enough time for Happ to change his approach. And it's definitely enough time for the White Sox hitters to remember what it was like hitting him like 5 or 6 days ago. So I'm on White Sox to get this done by a run and a half. I was able to snag it at plus 140. It is still around that line. There hasn't been much movement on it. But I've seen a lot of sharp people shocked that the White Sox are basically even here with the Twins.
Yeah, I so full disclosure there, like my routine every morning before I run all of my numbers is I look at every game and I just kind of say what I think is in my head, right? I write it down like, okay, I think that this line's going to be soft. I think all of these things, right? And then I simulate the games and I like, okay, well, this is why we simulate the games, right? I look at and see, like, obviously I think I was wrong there. I was correct there, but it's something that I like to do. I thought that the White Sox should have been minus 125 or maybe just a touch more in my initial first glance before I ran any of the simulations. Okay. With the simulations, I still have a slight edge on the White Sox. It is not as big as I thought it was going to be. They're currently minus 101 in some spots here. I made them minus 111. I think that, now at this very moment, I'm showing, 10 cents of value. There's a chance I could end up with a quarter unit on this game or a little more. I typically drop that bet size in situations where the market may be moving against me. But I was a little surprised. But I think that the reason for that is something that I touched on the early edge and something that I focus on quite a bit if you guys have followed me for a while. That's going to be a pitcher's expected weighted on base average versus their actual, especially at this is the perfect point in the season, in my opinion, to focus on it because we've seen a number of starts. The sample size is getting to the point where you would expect those numbers, the actual and the expected, to be within 20 to 30 points. That's where I would expect it to be at this time. Dallas Keuchel has a 308 actual weighted on base average and a 371 expected. Those are big numbers in that range because 308 is going to make him slightly better or honestly in this year pretty much meaningfully better than the league average starting pitcher, and 371 is going to take you to meaningfully below average in terms of a starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. Now, factor in the fact that the reason why I have the over in this game is because it is a strong hitting environment. The air density is incredibly low. The temperature is meaningfully high for this time in Minneapolis or in Minnesota there. I believe it's Minneapolis. I played the over in this game yesterday when it was the Oakland A's and the Minnesota Twins. And same thing here. We got positive VMIs, meaningfully positive VMIs. I believe 6 is the number on both teams in this game. So that's why I like the over. That's probably why the market is not so quick to back the White Sox, is because we do expect a little bit of regression from, frankly, both pitchers in this game, but maybe just a touch more from Dallas Keuchel. So that's why I'm at where I'm at. But at this number at minus 101, I'm showing some value again on the White Sox at this point.
I obviously agree. Another thing that I think Keuchel is pretty interesting of a pitcher because he is one of the more effective ground ball pitchers. And I think you're touching on some of the statistics that his approach is sort of reflected in. He gets a lot of weak dribblers right to the shortstop. It can be infuriating. I know I've lost an under playing a game that he pitched, and it's just like every single ball when he's on is going down. His launch angles are below zero so many times, and it's just so effective. So, if he's off, though, which has happened, and it actually did happen in his last game against the Twins. I mean, the Twins also put up a bunch of runs. I don't really think that this is going to give either pitcher enough time since that last start to really adjust. So I happen to agree. I think we're going to see another high-scoring one, and I think it gives the White Sox a good chance to win, though, because their offense has just been so prolific.
Yep. No, I definitely see that. All right, let's go to next game. You want to touch on Yankees real quick? Anything there?
Sure, talk about it briefly. Going to be humid tonight in Texas. If that roof's open, I would be shocked if the total doesn't move. I do think it's still sitting at 8. It hasn't really moved too much. People are probably very scared off of it because Garrett Cole is pitching for the Yankees. But, he's not impenetrable. He does have the propensity to let up a home run, to let up a run or two. He's just, high quality in the sense that that's probably all he's going to give you is 1, maybe 2. But if you watch his last couple starts, the Yankees have sort of been blowing his starts. They did not get him the win last time. The bullpen can be off on days where he pitches because they do try to they do get ahead and then they'll rest their A team essentially. And again, the VMI numbers are just sort of screaming here. Yankees have a 9.4, Texas have 5.4, both of which are very high. Humidity is going to be almost 90% by the time this game comes to a close. I think this is a great overplay at 8. I think the Yankees have a potential to carry this one themselves. Lyles potentially throws the worst fastball in the majors. And I believe I saw a stat that hitters are batting above 600 on him on an 0-0 count. So he's getting rocked on the first pitch this year. Look for the Yankees to be aggressive, and then maybe for the Rangers to add a couple at the end of the game too.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. Anything you get from the Rangers in this game will be a bonus and a huge boost to hitting that over. I do agree that the Yankees could get there on their own. Unfortunately, the Yankees, for me, the juice was a little too high, but I thought I was going to have an extreme alternate run line play. I thought I was going to end up on Yankees -3 tonight at some severe plus money, but it's really not even there's not enough value there, unfortunately. I thought there was a time or two earlier this year when I took Yankees -2 in a game that won. But that's a situation we're looking at. The K prop on Garrett Cole from Rex in the chat, 9.5. If you can get it at 9.5, close to even money or less than -115, I'm in. So yeah, there's a lot of juice there on that one. Probably still at 9.5.
Me, dude. Yeah, you cannot play local props. You just can't. I don't do it.
Yeah. So I can tell you the median number on strikeouts in the simulations is approaching 10. It's right at 10. So you could find 10.5 in an plus 130 or more situation. I'd be okay playing it, but over 9.5 -115. Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty fair value. I don't think there's a massive edge on it, but I think it's fair value. I think the scenario where you get in trouble there is one of the first 3 innings from Cole is one where we get multiple base runners and the pitch count gets elevated to where he's not pitching, past the 6th. That might be your issue. I expect the Rangers, I mean, they're going to strike out a ton, obviously, but I expect them to be very aggressive on the first pitch. But we'll see what happens there. But I ultimately
have, oh my God, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 6 of the Rangers players have more than 30 strikeouts this year. Gallo's closing in on 60, Low 45, Solak 44. So, yeah, there's a reason why there's juice on this line.
Yeah, definitely. Quickly, let's move to some of the other games. There was a big movement in the Angels and the Indians. I have to confirm there wasn't a pitching change. I don't think there was not a pitching change that I know of. Angels. I gotta get some updated numbers on this one. Let me see where this line is currently. Hold on, guys. Minus 143 is where it's at currently. So yeah, we've still seen a ton of movement. This one opened at minus 115. That's a big movement in this game without a pitching change. Do you have any thoughts on this game at all for the Angels?
There was some movement this morning from the opening line. It almost approached minus 150. There was some buyback actually, and again, you're saying now it's like 142. Looks like the sharp side's the Indians. I don't hate it. I couldn't really make ends of it this morning when I was looking at it at like 7 a.m. I think if you had to play this game, it's probably a sneaky underplay. I know nobody's going to jump at Patrick Sandoval, but the Indians do have a propensity to sometimes, not score more than 3 or 4 runs. They actually haven't scored more than 3 runs in their past 5 games. So, I don't think I'd play the money line. I think I'd go under if I had to. I think it's probably like I said, a sneaky underplay at 9. But that's probably it for me. But I wouldn't touch it.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there, especially at William Hill right now. So you can grab the under 9 at William Hill at plus money right now. It's plus 105 over there. Let me try and see exactly where I was. Yeah, it's a slight underlean for sure. It would qualify for 0.1 to 0.2 units for me at this point.
Literally,
maybe a little more. But.
So if you bet $10 on a bet, literally throw $1 at it and see what happens. Is basically what we're saying. And again, that's not too significant. If you're sitting there and you feel like, oh man, I loved that game, and now these guys are saying that it's probably a small edge in their model, then maybe that gives you enough to play it. But for the way that we see it and how we're looking at it, we would need a little bit more to take the play.
Yeah, for sure.
Question in the chat here. So if the implied probability of more than 60% for every game to end with an odd number total, I'm assuming it's because there are a lot of one-run games. Any profit to be had there? Interesting.
I cannot answer that one intelligently without looking at more of the data. But I assume yes, correctly. We have a lot of one-run games.
Yeah.
I'd have to look. Yeah.
I mean, just off of a wild first take type of guess, I guess. But what's going to usually happen is that the even run games do have a propensity to tie, while the odd games can never be a tie. And then most even scored games that are a tie are going to end with like a 1-run walk-off, especially in this new format. So yeah, I definitely think that that's probably something I'd stay away. That feels like a flip of a coin to me. I'd literally rather wait and bet on the Super Bowl flipping a coin. If those are the types of bets that you want to take, which you've actually talked about, is probably one of the best EV bets people make all year. But
Yep.
But nonetheless, that's a little tricky. Like, there's no way you could be like, oh, I have an edge tonight. Like, it's gonna be a 3-run game. That's like playing scratch offs to me.
Well, and it's likely juiced, right? So you're probably playing minus 110 in certain situations. I don't know. I'd have to look. I get what you're saying though. Yeah. The probability of more than 60%. I got it. Frankly, those are in sections that I've never even really scrolled to in the Sportsbook app. So I'd have to look, but imagine that it would be something that would have a big edge for me, but you never know, I suppose.
Next game on the slate is Colorado and the Padres. So this is, huge juice on the Padres. They are not expected to lose tonight. Yu Darvish taking the mound, and talked about it to open the show with the Cincinnati Reds traveling from the mountains back to their home. And now you have the Rockies leaving the mountains to go to San Diego. It is just like, if I had to choose a trend that I could probably I would blindly bet on, maybe not a trend, but like a type of game, it would be a team's first game away from Coors is always going to be rough. And again, it's because the pitches fly straighter in Colorado and the ball goes farther in Colorado. So, the adjustment into the real air is going to be a little difficult. And Darvish has some nasty stuff. It wouldn't shock me if the Rockies don't score until he leaves the game. So, I'm definitely on this run line here. It's now that minus at plus 112. I love getting plus money there. Padres are pretty good. I think they can put up a couple on the Rockies and John Gray.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. I could end up playing that one as well. Charlie Blackman also questionable for the Rockies. Never going to hurt removing him from that lineup. So obviously the VMI is ridiculous, like negative 23.
Ridiculous
spot. So yeah, totally makes a ton of sense there. To make matters worse, it's not a massive negative VMI with the league average pitcher. It's someone that has some absolutely nasty pitches. So I think it's pretty obvious where the one play is.
I'm very excited. Yeah, I'm very excited. This is gonna be a good bet. I'd be shocked again, I think I talked about it in my blurb today. The Rockies have only won twice away from home, and they've only covered in those losses twice. So you're talking about something that's just happening less than 20% of the time on the season. It's like a trend that you could probably pretty reasonably bet all year with your eyes shut. They just have such a tough time because every time they go on a new road trip, they're leaving Coors, and it's just not talked about enough. Everyone's like, oh yeah, playing at Coors, but leaving Coors is just as difficult as going to Coors is great.
Yes, I want to look at the schedule on that one too. I want to see how many games in a row did they play at home.
I can tell you right now. They just finished playing 2 series at home. They played the Padres for 3 and then the Reds for 3. Padres took 2 of 3. Reds took 1 of 3.
Okay, so 6 games would be in 9 days.
7 games. Sorry, they played 4 against the Reds.
Okay, so that's all going to happen in 9 days, I believe. Is how long it's been. So they've been, they've been adjusted to their home environment for
plenty of time.
Meaningful amount of time. Yeah. I love this spot here. The question I see is it worth to look at the San Diego team total? I will caution that overall it is going to still be a very good pitching environment. And while John Gray, the other pitcher, he's been decent at times in his career, this is one of the more ideal places to pitch for him. So, yeah, I would much sooner play the Padres run line, especially if you're still getting that at plus money, than I would play the Padres team total over that is likely juiced.
You're going to need 4 runs for the Padres to hit that, and it could very easily be a 3-0, 3-1 type of day today. If I was going to make a play other than this run line, which I don't think there's a better one in the game, or I would have made it, I'd probably go under, but it's that could still be risky. You just don't know. I'd take this run line if you're going to make a bet. It's a plus money play on a dominant team in a great position in terms of the air density, the weather, everything's sort of lining up, and you're backing Darvish. So yeah, I don't see a reason to go any other way on this one.
Yeah. 2 more questions real quick.
Sure.
It's one more comment, basically. Odds typically between minus 155 and minus 175 on the odd totals. That's interesting. Very, very interesting. I'll have to look at it, but not something I've ever looked at. And then question, how close are the Sportsline simulation to my sim numbers? Not particularly close all the time. Very much different. My models are way more into individual player level and way more individual player level detail than some of the team level stuff. So they're not the same at all. They're not built the same. I'm not sure exactly how everything is built there. I personally would never want to collab on any sort of a model. Basically, I like to do my thing and then have someone else do their thing. It's okay to use and trust multiple models, but look, there's no real true one way to do it, I don't think. So that is that's how I would answer that question.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta know, you sort of gotta learn how to trust certain models. That's kind of how I got my start, honestly. I actually analyzed models. Like I took the models that Mike made, Sportsline, all these people who made projections, and I basically just dove into them and did a secondary analysis better than what anybody really had. And I sort of learned how they all sort of kept up with each other and the market, and then I built my own. So, but based on what they were doing. So it's, look, very quickly, for Rex, I don't think either of us have hockey plays, and let's just try to finish up the day's slate. We have 2 more games. Arizona and the Dodgers. What do you make of that one, Mike?
It's really good pitching environment overall. If I had to, I would have liked the under, but I don't like it at the current number that I was going to get it at. So I basically missed the boat on getting the under there, but that's definitely where I would lean. It sounds weird saying Chris Taylor is important for the Dodgers, but in their current form against a left-handed pitcher, he's questionable. I like his right-handed bat a ton when they play left-handed pitchers, so he might miss this game. That's kind of significant for me there. So I don't have any interest in playing the game at either side at this number. If I wanted, my gut, I would love to lean under. I could see this literally being a 4-1 Dodgers win, 4-2 Dodgers win. But
nice, man.
Yeah, that's where I would lean. But I don't. I didn't get the number that I wanted to at the point, so that's where I'm at on that one.
Really quickly, so I do follow the SDQL guys, who I follow a couple people who use the system, and they're all on the Dodgers today. They love the spot for the Dodgers. I think it's that Buehler coming off of a rough bullpen day has been really nice, and I also think that this sort of has that whole Monday opening of a series type of vibe where the Dodgers are going to want to put their foot down, take the lead in the series behind one of their aces, and just get this one done. So, my lean is definitely the Dodgers. If you love big juice bets that are oh man, I just want a winner. I mean, yeah, it feels like the Dodgers are gonna take this one tonight. Especially they lost to Miami last night, and the Sharps were all over it. The Sharps were. I was kicking myself. I was like, you want to know what? This is the perfect day for Miami to win, and they did. This is a really nice bounce back spot for the Dodgers to open up a week, to open up a series with a win, and things like that matter to teams. Expect the Dodgers to win tonight if you really had to make a play on it. But I'm not taking that juice. I don't bet things that big, but you're very likely to see the Dodgers win.
Yep. All right. Let's give the people the donkey parlay of the day, because that's what some of you want. We'll obviously include the Dodgers. We're obviously going to include the Padres.
Yep.
We will obviously include the New York Yankees. You've got those 3 aces on the mound. Anything else we want to include in the donkey parlay of the day?
Believe it or not, I was doing some donkey research this morning. Those 3 on their own are going to come out to just below 200. So
it is exactly plus 200 on William Hill. Yep.
Exactly. Right. So that's right around the, kind of worth it. You really do expect those 3 teams to win. But I bet you were going to sit here and one of those 3 is going to lose tonight on a huge line, and people are going to be upset. Now, if I think we should probably go for 4. I don't necessarily. I don't like the Cubs. I don't want to have the Cubs do it to us again. I'll let you choose. I'm fine with a 3-leg donkey of the day. Seattle's a huge favorite. We didn't really talk about that game. Yep. But I don't know.
I'll throw Seattle on it. It's a tough travel spot for the Detroit Tigers. Yeah. So I obviously this is what I love about sports betting. What I love about math in general, right, is when you can say just such an obvious, what should be an obvious statement, right? So I think the Seattle Mariners are going to win. Right?
Yeah.
I think Seattle Mariners are going to win tonight. And of course they should. They're minus 177 favorites, the market's telling me there's a 64% chance they're going to win. So yeah, I'm going to be comfortable saying that I think they're going to win. I don't have any value on betting the game, but I will toss them in there. That brings it up to plus 370 on the 4-leg donkey parlay. Is 4 enough? Anyone watching in the chat, is 4 enough for the donkey parlay, or do you need a 5th game to really make it the donkey of the day parlay? We'll give that like 1 minute to get any responses. If you want 3, or if you want 4 or 5, let me know. Obviously, you can always build your own donkey parlay.
That's very funny. No, yeah, you could throw in the Avalanche if you personally wanted to, but we'll probably keep it to MLB.
Yeah.
They're minus 315 today. It's ridiculous. No, but I do think, look, Mariners should get this, right? Kikuchi against a lefty, a team that like can't hit lefties. The Tigers are like at Mendoza line for lefties this year, dude. It's bad. So, throw the Mariners in there. I don't really want to throw the Braves in at minus 150. I don't. Goodness gracious. But if you wanted to do Cubs, I understand that one too. I think let's keep it at 4. Yankees, Padres, Dodgers, and Seattle.
All right, I'll briefly explain the donkey parlay of the day. So then we're going to get off of here. I personally do not really believe in betting parlays. I think it's a good way to lose your money, especially if you're not disciplined with your funds. So I do not bet parlays. We get a lot of questions about parlays. A lot of people like to bet them. A lot of people like to parlay large favorites. That's going to come out to an implied probability of around 8 to 10% most of the time. They're terrible bets, but a lot of people love them. So we call it the donkey parlay of the day because it's something you should never do, but you guys like to do it. So we played one with you the first day that we tried it. And of course it hit for plus 745. And so we're going to continue. We're going to continue doing that. So the donkey parlay of the day today is a 4-leg parlay. It's going to be the Padres, Dodgers, Yankees, and Mariners money lines coming back at plus 370 at William Hill. But that's why it's called the donkey parlay of the day. So
because it should hit, but it's not going to, and you're going to look like a donkey when you bet it. But yes. Look, if we sit here again tomorrow and you all hit and you're all sitting on plus money from the 741 on Friday, no one's going to be mad, right? So look, let's make it a good day. Let's start it off right, and see you here tomorrow, Mike.
All right. We'll see you guys.